welcome to a special edition of The Art of Talking. I'm your host, Diadeline, joined by my co-hosts, Ashley, Martin, Alexis, and our special teacher co-host, Mr. Alfred Mendoza. Today, we are joined by an extremely special guest, Mr. Lalo Alcaraz. Famous political cartoonist and Chicano artist. How are you guys doing today?
Doing good.
Really excited. Glad to have Lalo here.
Yeah, Lalo, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I'm so impressed by your school and the students, and of course that's why I work with them. But take it away, host.
Okay, so we know you're an artist, a cartoonist. What drew you to art?
I grew up in San Diego, on the border with Tijuana, and so most residents go back and forth all the time. Some even commute back and forth. And growing up as a kid, I would go there to go buy groceries because they were cheaper and better. And the traffic was not, because you get stuck in traffic coming across. But I would see, I would get my parents are Mexican immigrants from Zacatecas and Sinaloa. Woo. Okay, I was just testing to see if anybody was from there, but apparently not. Down there, that guy. All right. And but growing up in San Diego, I didn't see myself reflected in the art. It was rare to see myself reflected in comics. But in Tijuana, I got exposed to all the Mexican comic books and lucha libre movies. My mom would take me to there was a movie theater called the Cinerama. I think it's still there, but we would go to the matinee and see like my poor mom would see 4 lucha libre movies of Santo contra las momias and Blue Demon contra, whatever, las brujas, and all that stuff like blew my mind. And also, it runs in my family, and I can talk about that later, whatever.
Oh, really?
It'll come up. But yeah, so that's what drew me to art, is just seeing it, being exposed to it, to comics, to cinema, and to Mexican culture, and I grew up to combine it all.
What challenges did you have to face to get in the career you are right now?
Wow, lots of challenges, including not knowing what I wanted to do. I didn't grow up with, I think probably many students here could relate, might be the first ones to go to college in our families. And we don't have that history in our families of parents that know about college. And so that was my situation. My father died when I was 13. So it was just me and my mom for a long time. And, she did the best she could. And I was running a little wild on the streets because it was the 70s, and that's what you did, unsupervised, as opposed, I think, to this generation, which is highly monitored, I hope, because you're up to no good. And so the challenges were not knowing what a career was. I mean, my mom would have been happy. She was like, "Mijo, you should paint the holiday scenes on Jack in the Box and McDonald's. That would be such a great career, And she was excited. I graduated from high school. But at my high school, a challenge I had was that we as the Latinos and the Chicanos, we were either tracked away from college information and stuff, and we were tracked towards vocational stuff, which vocational stuff is cool. I got tracked towards, there was, auto shop, and there was other things. I got tracked towards graphic arts, which meant working at a print shop, basically. I learned how to do things, a program called ROP that gave us experience and actually placed me with a print shop, which I learned how to do offset printing and all kinds of printing, designing. But I didn't know that you could also go to college to do that and to take it to the next level. And so I had one counselor who was the only African American that worked at my mostly white high school, and he was the tennis coach also, and he was the one that told me, unlike my other counselors, if you took this class and that class and that class, you could get into San Diego State. And I said, wow. What's San Diego State? San Diego State University. And so luckily, because I took all these graphic design classes and I got straight A's in that is what pushed my GPA up so that I could get in with affirmative action, EOP programs at San Diego State. But I didn't know all that. I did not have that support. So I urge the students here to take advantage of because I could tell this is a kick-ass school. Sorry if I did. Yeah. You guys, you have the resources here, I think. Unlike many schools I have visited that are rough around the edges, and the resources are not there. You take advantage of this time and these people that care about you, and they want you to succeed. Because look at all this stuff. This is great.
Yeah, I think we are really grateful for all the academies that we have. Especially Vista, we have TPA, we have our cooking. There's just a lot of classes that open doors, and it's really cool.
Yes, and and I'm not bashing the vocational stuff. I used it to pay my way through high school and college. I mean, I was earning money as a teenager to pay for our household expenses, and my mom couldn't work anymore. And I worked my way through undergraduate, working at that print shop, And so, I mean, I'm glad I had a vocation, and I know how to do all these things. And that's why now I do a little bit. I like doing a little bit of everything, also, going to college, it really steps you up to the next level. So I'm not putting that down. Yes.
So you mentioned that you were influenced by your surroundings, and especially your trans-American lifestyle, right? Where you're able to transcend the border, right, in a way. I know that you mentioned that you grew up looking at cartoons, the little cartoon books, right, the comics, and I wanted to ask you a question along the lines, right? So who were artists that you looked up to, right? Because we look up to you as a dope artist, especially for ethnic studies, Chicano studies. We use a lot of your work, but who were your inspirations, artists that you looked up to? Doing the kind of work that you do.
I mean, the very first cartoons I remember watching and learning stuff from were the Looney Tunes. But from the original ones that they animated in the 40s, right? And I learned all about American culture by watching those, So, cartoons are educational no matter what, even if they're just entertainment, they can be educational. And I learned a lot about history through that. And then when we'd go to Tijuana, I'd buy Disney comic books. Well, I don't know why, but Scrooge McDuck is really popular down there. Rico Macpato, I think is his name. And I would read those in Spanish, And but I didn't know it was Disney. I didn't care, whatever. It was whatever. And but then I would see the Mexican pulp comic books, like Calimán was a superhero. Back then, and then all the Lucha Libre comics, all that. As for specific artists, I remember growing up and having that one artist that I would look at. He came out in the newspaper. He had a comic strip called Gordo, and his name was Gus Arriola, and he's the first Chicano or just Latino, I think, to have a nationally syndicated comic strip in the history of the U.S. And his comic strip was about a Mexican taxi driver. Obviously, he was a gordo, and he lived in a little pueblito, and originally he liked to he chased the ladies a little too much and party too much, and that went on for 10 years from the 40s. This guy was drawing this in like right during World War II. He went off to the army. He's Chicano from Tucson, Arizona. And this guy's my role model, one of my role models big time when I was a kid. And eventually, though, the Chicano movement happened, and they came to him and they said, yo, you're the only guy in the newspaper that is like us, and you're misrepresenting Mexican culture. And all your characters, they talk like this, senor, you know? And he said, you know what? You're right. Like, I'm the most visible Mexican in the country. And he changed the tone of his strip, made the character more positive, less stereotypical, and really it blossomed. It's a beautiful comic strip. You can look it up. It's called Gordo. And that guy was like a guy that made me feel like when I was like 12 years old, looking at the newspaper, going like, hey, I can do this. You know, that's why you always think like, you know, I go to the Cheech Museum of Art, and I go, I can paint that. You know, so I do. I just go for it, you know. So that's how your attitude should be. You see something you like, you think you want to do it, be like, don't think like, oh, I'll never be able to do that. No, it's the opposite, because that person started out the same way.
Yeah.
You know, so with many challenges. So.
Talking about comic strips, I know you actually created a daily comic strip called La Cucaracha, and it's been seen in the LA Times and other papers nationwide. What went into making it?
In about 2000, well, I started out drawing in college. I did editorial cartoons in college, and that was the first time that I was doing I answered an ad in the student paper. They advertised a job. They could pay 2 cartoonists to do the editorial cartoons for the school paper. Paper's called the Daily Aztec, which is San Diego State's newspaper. It was a big paper. And so the job advertised for 2 guys or 2 persons to do editorial cartoons, and they paid $3.50 a cartoon, okay? Like, and now I make $4 a cartoon. I'm just back, it was a long time ago, right? So, and I applied for it. I got it. The other guy applied for it, got it. That person quit after like 2 weeks. It was too much for him. And I kept my job for like 2 years, and I became like the main editorial cartoonist. I was doing like sometimes like, you know, 3 a week, 4 weeks sometimes. And that's when I got my first hate mail. And I kind of got hooked on reader response, you know. But my first hate letter was I went to the library at school, and I went to the bathroom because I was studying, and I went to take a bathroom break. I sat down, okay? Some of us do that. I sat down, and I looked by the toilet paper dispenser. There was my name, and they said I sucked, and I was a jerk, and I was this, and that. And it was some frat boy had signed it, like Kappa, Kappa, Kappa or something, right? Like the KKK, right? And
no.
But that was my first hate letter. I was like, wow, like I drew a cartoon, made this guy so mad, he had to write about me in the toilet stall, not knowing whether I would sit in that one, right? Like
That's how you know you're doing good, though.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, but also people are dumb.
Yeah.
And sometimes they misread comics. So real fast, I'm sorry, I know I'm going off in tangents. But after that, I started working in at the LA Weekly in the 90s, actually like 6 weeks after the LA riots, because they were trying to be responsive to the community after the city blew up. And so I did a strip called LA Cucaracha in the LA Weekly for years, and that grew into this, which is the daily nationally syndicated comic strip. And it's been 21 years I've been doing that. So, yeah, you guys.
So along the lines, right? You say that for your work you receive attention, right? Sometimes not good attention. So that's the question I wanted to ask you, right? As an artist, right? You're definitely providing a counter narrative, right, to to the mainstream audience. And
Hope so.
I wanted to see if you could speak on the role of the artist when it comes to pushing for truth and justice, right? Especially in the context of our society.
Sure. I mean, we're not just artists, we're all responsible to, use, like my mom used to say, use the coco that God gave you, like think about stuff. Don't just accept stuff blindly. Don't be like these people that go on YouTube and be like, oh, I get all my news from YouTube. It's like, no wonder so many, we had such a bad time with the pandemic, because people don't believe like journalists and scientists. And you have to like be a critical thinker all the time, right? But that doesn't mean that, you have to believe in space dragons or anything, right? Or that the earth is flat, right? But, ¿cómo se dice? I think that being an artist, you do have that responsibility, especially if you're super visible. And I like being super visible. I like people to see my stuff, to react to it, to engage a little bit. And I think we're responsible, especially as, not just as like an editorial cartoonist, I consider is a journalistic job. You have to have truth in your cartoons, or else it's just BS like anything else. It's lies. So even in my daily comic strip, I have to make sure that the stuff is based on truth. I can't just make up stuff and attack somebody. It has to have a basis in the truth. So, and sometimes when I'm feeling really good about myself, I say, there's more truth in my strip than sometimes the story next to it in the paper or whatever you're looking at online. And that's what, cartoonists and artists should present what's going on and should comment on what's going on, or point us to a direction that you'd like society to go. Like, I've been accused of not being the most upbeat and positive person, and that's fine. That's not my job. I'm really good at being mean, and I got that from my dad. And I'm really good at being a smartass. Got that from my mom. And I like to use those powers to take down people that deserve to be taken down. So. Woo.
So I noticed some of your comic strips are Star Wars based. How big of a Star Wars fan are you that gave you the ideas to make them?
Well, I like Star Wars. I like all that stuff. I love superheroes. There goes Low Vader, one of my favorite, Darth Vader Lowrider. I just like, sometimes I just like being silly. Here's little Yoda from the hood. And then, of course, the Princess Guadalea. I get a lot of heat sometimes from señoras that just came out of church from about this one, and obviously, they're like, "Why could the Virgen be holding a gun?" I'm like, "That's not a gun. That's a blaster." So you see that's not exactly a little angel down there, but I like I use pop culture stuff to grab people's attention, or to do commentary, or just to combine it with Mexican and Mexican-American culture, and just have fun, and kind of tweak stuff our way, the stuff that I'd like to see. I'd like to see the Princess Guadalea, going planet to planet, and little homeboy Yoda, that would be fun. I think it'd be even better than the current shows, But and also, but I'm not the super duper, Star Wars fanatic. I just know that Latinos really like the Star Wars things, with Chewbacca and Arturito and all that stuff. We've all seen it a million times, but it's still funny and cool, And we get to I get to represent us in using those images and reverse cultural appropriation. I call it.
So can we get like kind of a rundown of what it takes to have your piece in the day, like daily?
Oh, sure. I'll tell you my horrible schedule, okay? So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays, I do stuff like this and answer phone calls, take meetings, and then think about an editorial cartoon I got to turn in by Thursday. I do one or two a week on those, and those are the, ones about the current affairs and the politics and Congress, whatever, anything. And then by Thursday, I have my deadline for La Cucaracha, and which I stretch into Friday. I don't turn it in ever. Right now, I have an assistant who he's been working for me for 5 years, and he draws the strip, and I tell him what to draw, and then I write, the gags. I tell him draw 5 strips about aliens, and I'll change the punchlines or whatever. Like the Tamal aliens, right? The ones that came from Mexico. You see that? There's they presented it in the Mexican Congress, and everybody's making memes about how they look like tamales, right? They do look like little skinny tamales, right? Really dry looking though, but little alien mummies. Anyway, so I'll tell them to draw some of those, and then I'll fix and arrange, and then I have to do a Sunday comic too. So finish all that, put it together by Friday afternoon. I'm done with that. Then I do my radio show at 3 o'clock, which is called the Pocho Hour of Power on KPFK 90.7 FM, Fridays, 3, kpfk.org. I do that reflexively, and then I'm done. Then the rest of the time during the week, working on trying to, make some movies happen, make some TV shows happen, and then I do other illustration work, and, I got bills.
Speaking of movies, we all know you helped with the animation Coco and how accurate the characters are to the Latino community. Amazing work, by the way, because those characters, they're just so like everyday life. I'll be like, oh, that person kind of looks like this person. What was like your inspiration for helping with the characters?
Well, let's be 100% clear. I was a cultural consultant on the movie, along with 2 other. We were the main 3 cultural consultants. The whole story of how I got involved with that's not a bad story. The Disney company, in around 2014, I think, tried to trademark the term Dia de los Muertos, right? And that was a big no-no. And everybody booed, exactly. And everybody got online and just started attacking Disney. And I drew a cartoon called Muerto Mouse. And it shows a big, Calavera, Mickey Mouse coming this one. And so this is a fake movie poster. It's coming to trademark your cultura. Muerto Mouse opens nationwide on Dia de los Muertos. And then it says Dia de los Muertos, copyright 2013, the wall. So I did that. This whole thing happened on a Tuesday night. We found out about the trademark thing. And then by Thursday night, after the petitions were signed and the big uproar on social media, and my little poster, my little image, my cartoon went viral. It went super viral. It was one of my top things ever done. Disney pulled the trademark application. And then later on, gave an apology about 2 years later, maybe 3, when the movie that they were working on, which they changed from the title Dia de los Muertos to Coco. So a year after that happened, the executive producer of the movie, Darla Anderson, through a friend, the other consultant, contacted me and said, "Do you want to? She wants to offer you a position as a cultural consultant on the movie." And I said, wait a minute, you're just trying to buy my name, and I can't do that, like, is this a real thing? And they said, it's absolutely a real thing. She was cool. She understood the mistake that Disney had done. She was at Pixar, and she said, they took me out for steaks and martinis. I'm not going to lie. I told them it was my birthday so I could have more martinis. And, I said, are you going to listen to us? Because if this is a rubber stamp, that's not good. You can't just put a Latino name on it and be like, oh, we're all good, And they said, no, absolutely not. Or absolutely, we'll listen to you. We'll consider everything you say. I said, all right. I said, okay. I go, second, are you going to have brown facing on this movie? And, as we might know, brown facing is when a white actor portrays a minority in a movie, in animation, his voice, whatever. Because I go, if Brad Pitt is going to be doing a Calavera voice on here, I don't want any part of this. And they said, absolutely no brown facing. I said, all right, sign me up, because I knew that this movie was going to be such an important movie. People are going to be watching it in 100 years. My descendants are going to be watching it. I want it to be done right, to the point of I helped sharpen little things here and there to make sure that there was nothing weird, not authentic. When I watch a movie and I see a Latino thing or a Mexican thing and it's wrong, I don't want to just change the channel or walk out. I'm like, I'm not enjoying this anymore. This is like, some idiot came up with this. And I don't think there's a moment in that in Coco. It's came out pretty good. Which my haters, which I have a few. My haters, they were like, oh, how could you work with Disney and this and that? I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take this one for the team, and I'm going to show you. We're going to come up, hopefully, with a good movie that we can all be proud of. And so the movie came out, and of course, we won 2 Oscars, and it became the #1 movie of all time in Mexico. The previous #1 movie was Avengers, so whatever. And it made almost $900 million around the world, and it was the #1 movie in China for a long time. And it was not only, I did not expect how universal it was going to be, because I had a Chinese movie guy, the distribution guy for Disney. I met him at Pixar, and he was like, hey, you should come out to Shanghai sometime. I was like, hell yeah, I want to go to Shanghai. And he says, you'll love it, you'll love the food, but I wish you could have come when Coco was out, because you haven't lived until you've been in a movie theater full of a Chinese movie audience, and they're watching Coco, and they're all bawling their eyes out. And I was like, oh my God, I had no idea. I'm so dense, I didn't know this thing was going to be a global hit. But yeah, it was a really beautiful project. It's great to work on it. They listened to everything we said. We were there. They would fly me up to the Bay Area to go to the Pixar studios. And I like 6 a.m, I'd come back by 7 p.m. It was like exhausting, but they had really good food. They have chefs that cook their lunch, just like here at your high school. And we'd get to watch the cuts of the movie and whatever. And I watch it. I've seen it like 24 times. I cry every time. It's just like So yeah, it was a great experience. I'm glad I did it. Oh, and the haters, they all have the DVDs, I'm sure. Their kids begged them to watch Coco, and they couldn't say anything because, se callaron. There was nothing they could say. I think it was like a pretty good project. Oh, real fast, can you go back to the Oscar photo? They have, do I look very happy? It's because they have open bars at the Oscars. And so I walked over to one of the bars, and there's an Oscar statuette sitting on the bar. And I'm looking at it, and we had already won, and I'm looking at it like, oh, what is this? And I look, and next to it is a very drunk British guy with his tie off, and he's in a tux. We're all in tuxes, right? And he's like, He's like, oh, that's mine. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, you want to hold it? That's my British accent impersonation. Hey, Bato, you want to hold it? And he go, and I go, hell yeah, I want to hold it. And so I picked it up, and he goes, hey, you want a photo? I go, yeah, man. I gave him my cell phone, and he took that photo. He did one shot. He got that photo, and so then I posted it online. This is why you can't believe anything that's on social media, because I was like holding that like that was my Oscars, not but I kind of like portrayed it as such. But that is the Oscar for sound editing for the movie Dunkirk. So congratulations to that guy. But all right, I'm done bragging about the Oscars.
So, not fully done, because we do have another question for you. You talked about your experience as a cultural consultant on the movie. What was your experience like as a voice actor in the movie? Because we heard you voice acted a little bit.
Oh, yeah. As a gift from the director, I was offered a tiny role. It was just one line. And it's, okay, if you've seen the movie, in the beginning, Miguel goes to get a guitar, borrow a guitar, to be in the talent show, right? So he can show everyone what a great musician he is. And he goes to ask every single musician getting ready for the contest, and they all go, no, come on, kid, get out of here. And so, anyway, so I just gave my line away. But so at the very end, there's a big, angry purple mariachi. He's in a purple suit, and he's like, "Hey, can I borrow your guitar?" And I go, "Get out of here, kid." So that's my big line. And so I could technically join SAG-AFTRA, but I didn't. I didn't have $1,000 at the time. So, but I still get residuals though from the movie. So keep buying it. Don't buy it at the El Monte swap meet or whatever it's called. All right? I don't get any money from that.
They shut it down.
I got shut down. Damn. Don't go to Santa Fe Street.
Not only have you worked on Coco, you also worked on the Loud House spinoff, Casa Grande. How was that experience?
That was great. We had 3 seasons. The Casa Grandes. I was there at the ground floor. I actually worked at Loud House to help spin off the characters into their own show. So I was cultural consultant at Loud House for these characters, and then they spun them off to the new show, and I went with that show and became a cultural consultant. And I insisted, even though they fought me, to be a freelance writer on it. So I didn't join the writing staff, but I was there every day, and I was like, I'm a creator. I need to write some of these episodes, and I insisted until they relented. And then I wrote, I think maybe about 4 episodes and some little short pieces, film little bits for them. And I co-wrote the theme song with 2 other people, with Chicana composer Jermaine Franco, who's like our #1 female composer, and she's Chicana from East LA. And she, I performed with her 1,000 years ago, and she scores movies and does all this stuff. And she did all the songs in Coco. She co-wrote those songs, except for Remember Me, not that one. But everything else, you know. So we co-wrote the song, and I get residuals for that too. And my friend Cheech, you guys know Cheech of Cheech and Chong? Cheech Marin. He was in Coco as well, and but he calls it mailbox money. When you're in a project and you get a residual check, and this is and it just shows up. So you did your thing. It could be 20 years ago. You're still getting money for it. that's when the studios shared their money. Not like right now they're trying to send you a penny and say, go cash that penny check, for your residual. So that's why there's a big writer strike and actor strike right now, because the studios are not sharing, because in this country, big corporations have a hard time sharing. We need to teach them they got to share in the profits with the workers.
So, how did you actually end up being the producer and the writer for Casa Grandes? I really like the show because I watched it in middle school every day.
Oh, good. That's better than when people tell me, my grandma turned me onto your comics. I'm like, oh, thanks. I'm 1,000 years old now, right? I like I said, I really wanted to be as involved as possible. I wanted to stretch my creative, muscles all the time. I have a need to do it. I go crazy if I don't. I saw my family reflected in this. I put in I have a one family gag that I did that happened to me. We're in Mexico City when I was a kid. I'm actually writing a book about this right now. When I was a kid, we would go to Mexico City in the summer, much like the way we would go to Tijuana, and I would absorb culture there. But one time we were over with my family. We're all on getting on a bus, a public trans bus, and we got on, and my mom was in the standing in the street. Well, we hadn't gotten on the bus. Actually, I got it backwards. We were on the street, and a bus was passing by, and my mom pointed at a building and said, "Oh, like mira, ahí está," whatever. And a guy on the bus that drove by said, "Ay, mi ojo," as if she had poked him in the eye. Right? He went right by. And so if you ever see that in the show, that's my family's gag that I would put in every time. Ay, mi ojo, and all different stuff happens, and people's eyes get injured. That's funny because it's a kid's cartoon. They don't let us show too many injuries or dangerous things. All kinds of rules for cartoons. But yeah, I wanted to represent our families in it. It's a super diverse show, super diverse crew. The crew is like, has everybody in it. The cast is great, and I'm sad that it had its 3-year run, but we have a project that's coming out that I can't talk about.
Oh.
So there'll be a little more Casa Grandes in your life. So
Coming soon.
and I'm working on that right now.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So recently you made a project called Taking a Healthy Ride on the Green Side. Can you tell me more about it?
My masterpiece right here. Yeah, I mean, literally, the student body is reflected in this piece, and literally they participated in it, and it was a really organic way. My business partner Rick Torres is right there, and it came with the agency, the VMA, to create this animation and get the word out in using animation. To get the word out about green mobility and how we should all, go to school. I don't go to school, but you guys go to school, and different ways that we can help the environment and promote health as well. But the main part of it was the inspiration we got from the first session we had. I'm getting old. What's the name of that? What's the word for the session we had? The focus group. Thank you. I've only been to 100 focus groups, but this one was one of the best ones we had because the students told us, there's an expression in Spanish, sin pelos en la lengua, right? No hair on your tongue, which means you're speaking clearly and bluntly about something. Like no holds barred, right? And the students in this focus group told us like 100% what they go through to get to school and to use public transit. And we were like amazed. Like basically, they wrote this, PSA. With their feedback was incredible. And then we were inspired to, also because it was easier, to record their voices, which fits with the mission of the school, of the academy. It's have hands-on practice, recording the voices for the characters. Now, when part of my job as a cultural consultant at Nickelodeon is I would sit in, I still do, in the recording studio, and listen to the actors, the pronunciations, maybe give feedback on maybe some writing, and just to catch cultural stuff. And so I kind of like that job. I learned how to do that job as kind of a supervisor, voice supervisor. And so I got to do that here with all the students, with your superintendent, and I whipped them all into shape, believe me. Do it right. No, I don't. I learned to try to be nice. You have to be nice in the animation. Only nice people work in animation.
Dee and Ashley came home crying.
As one of those voice actors, I can tell you he was rough on us.
It only felt rough. It wasn't really rough.
So, really quickly.
Oh, we're going to show it?
Show the video.
How exciting.
Fiddle. There's no play option.
Ooh, they're well, we're gonna edit this out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, edit it out.
Just gonna
You guys didn't see this.
ignore it for now.
Should I start dancing?
Do you normally work with older people or younger kids? What's or just a mix?
Working on Casa Grandes, I work with child actors. As young as the youngest one was around, 12 maybe.
Oh, wow.
And child actors, man, they're pros. Some of them are they are, well trained and they're well behaved for the most part. I worked with a couple that were, never mind. But it's all ages. So it's been great. Everyone has been really actually good. I sound just like a Hollywood person. All right? I love everyone on my cast. There's no bad people. I love my producer. Yeah. But the number one rule in Hollywood, and I won't say it completely explicitly, but I'll just call it don't be the jerk. There's another word I'm thinking. Don't be that bad, mean, idiot person that ruins it for yourself. You're ruining it for yourself. Because the next time you try to work, they're going to be like, I don't want to work with that guy. He's difficult. She's terrible.
Okay,
Oh, here we go. Yay. Look at that. Is this The Godfather? Love it.
Good morning. Buenos dias. Shall we sing? Thou Shang Hao. This is an important message for parents and students from Superintendent Dr. Edward Zuniga. You can promote community health and help our environment by making it greener and cleaner by encouraging your children to independently choose how they want to go green to get to school.
We can walk to school with a friend.
Go green by carpooling. Go green by scootering. Go green by biking.
Air pollution can lead to a wide range of diseases, including stroke, chronic breathing troubles, and lung cancer.
Đi xe bus với bạn bè.
Nearly 85% of greenhouse gas emissions from transportation come from vehicles with gasoline engines.
Vamos de reto con abuela y su suave coche eléctrico.
Electric vehicle use improves air quality and lowers rates of asthma and respiratory infections.
我们可以骑电动滑板车。
We can ride our electric bikes to school too.
Choosing a bike over a car just once a day can reduce a person's emissions by 67% per year. And not just electric bikes, scooters, and cars, some of our students can't even ride our new electric school buses.
Let's work together and create a safe, healthy, and comfortable greenway to get our students to school by
Taking a healthy ride on the green side.
Visit emuhsdmobility.com to learn more.
Came out good.
It did. That voice sounds a little familiar, D.
I don't know who that was.
I wonder who.
So, what was it like working with us, the students, on voice acting here?
Oh yeah, it was fun. I was really impressed by how much you let me beat you up, but you know you got to do that to get it right. And you know when even professional actors need help sometimes to get the right thing. And there's a lot. You know, I have a lot of friends or random people that will come up to me and say, hey, I have a funny voice. Put me in your thing. I'll be a good voice actor. And I'm like, well, you know, there's two parts to voice actor. There's voice, there's actor. And actor is number one because you have to take direction, you know, and you have to, you know, if I say, put a smile on it, right? Like, it's literally like, say the word by smiling. It makes it sound different. And, you know, like an average civilian, it sounds like gibberish, you know, but like voice actors know already what it takes to perform when you say, and that's what I love about doing it is I feel like, oh, I know so much about voice directing, you know, like it makes me feel good to work with a bunch of people that I have to direct a lot, you know. If I say, call it out, you know, that means like pretend that you're, you know, on the corner and you're yelling to me, you know. And so the actor knows to sit there and not scream into the mic, but to make their voice sound like the, hey, you know, like that, without really blowing out the mics, you know. And there's a lot of that stuff that fascinates me. It brings me enjoyment. And also, I feel like I can make people funnier. So I'm a good director at getting the jokes right, getting the most of the humor out of a person. So I've done little short films, different things over the years where I've done that. And I used to do comedy on stage. I had a comedy group called Chicano Secret Service. Now he's like, yeah, I seen you in a history book. And yeah, that was me. And I love performing on stage. As you can tell, I love talking, cracking jokes. So.
What was it like working with Dr. Zuniga?
Dr. Zuniga was so difficult. He was a prima donna. My God, no, I'm kidding. He was great, man. He came in and gave a solid performance, and took good direction, and made a good example for the boys and girls.
Okay, so we know you like do films and stuff, but you also co-own a business, isn't that right?
Yes.
Pacho Villa?
Yeah, Pocho Villa.
Pocho
We started
Villa?
a production company called Pocho Villa Productions, and we're hoping to, you know, one of my heroes, Pancho Villa, the only guy to ever invade the U.S. That's here. You know, great Mexican revolutionary, and we want to bring projects. Is that guy's over there again? Rick Torres over there, my partner, and we want to bring projects to promote Chicano, Mexican, Latino culture and indigenous culture and history, and talk about, and because, in this country, history is under attack. Like, certain people don't want to hear about our history. They don't want to know who our heroes are. They want to keep us down here so that we could be good, good little workers. But we have our own history. We have our own culture. And it deserves to be out there because our culture is beautiful. All our cultures here, everyone, regardless of where you're from, we all have families. We all have the same stories, but they're specific to us. And we have, this stuff needs to come out because, they're trying to kind of stomp on it, push it down. We need to pop up.
Mm-hmm.
You're just saying what I say every day, right? Ethnic studies. So talking about ethnic studies, right, is still under attack, right? It's still, like in California, we got rid of the In La Quech poem, right? Just like they did in Arizona, right? And I know you were very close with that movement in Arizona, right? Yeah. With the Mexican American Studies program, the Raza Studies program. A very model program, right? That completely transformed the community, uplifted the community, right?
A program that benefited, made students go to college.
Exactly, right? So what was your work like with some of those movements, right? For teaching the histories, the stories, the narratives of people of color, especially in this case.
Sure.
Chicano,
I love going out and speaking to universities, to high schools. This is a great event right here. It's a podcast and an assembly all at once. It's great. Yeah, I'm so happy when people tell me, like educators tell me, I use your cartoons in my classes, and I'm like, pay me. No, I'm just kidding. And I'm happy. I even try to come up with a book idea for so that people could make like a it's not a syllabus, but it's what's it called? There's like
coursework?
Curriculum? A curriculum with my cartoons. And I work with Scholastic and do the book publisher and to judge the art contest because they have an editorial cartoon component of this, and thousands of students send in their work from all over the country. And I do that to promote editorial cartooning with the youth, and also art. But I also done an educational kind of module, and the name's escaping me right now, but it's with a journalism institute, and it's all about just teaching about editorial cartooning. It's a curriculum. It's a set of videos, and I shot it in downtown LA at La Plaza. And to kind of, they told me you're going to be in high schools. Like, sorry, are you going to be in high schools, for another 20 years with this video? The kids are going to be watching it. So I was the host and talking about how editorial cartoons are, important. But again, they teach. I'm a historian, but of today. Right? Like my work, you'll see it in the future and you'll be like, oh, that Lalo, he was a historian. He captured what was going on and what people were feeling in whatever year. But journalists and cartoonists are historians of the current affairs. And so I hope that the work, continues to be seen a long time.
On that note, what work or what piece has brought you the most haters or the most controversy?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Pieces. There's more than one.
I mean, I did a cartoon on the anniversary of 9/11, and it was called I called the Twin Teepees, and it represented kind of the Twin Towers, but they were Native American teepees that were on fire. And it said, never forget. And it was kind of, I was like, what was I thinking, man? I did that on the 1 year anniversary of 9/11. And it was, you guys don't remember, it was like super patriotism land everywhere, right? And I got a lot of haters for that. But a lot of people told me, you don't have to draw cartoons anymore. That's your best. You've never topped that cartoon. That's the best cartoon. It was all about, the genocide against Native peoples. Not to put down 9/11 at all. It wasn't what I was doing. But I was showing we have a history of death and destruction in this country. And it's okay to know about it. It's not supposed to make us feel good. It's okay. So that we don't do it again, right? So, anyway. Rant over.
So with that, we're going to open up the podcast to questions from the audience. If you guys want to come on down to the microphone down here and ask a question.
And please, everyone, remain, and even when the lunch bell rings, until we tell you all you could leave. But thank you, Lalo, and please come down if you have any questions.
Yeah, please. Go on, come here.
The teachers, too.
Teachers, you're also welcome to come on down and ask questions.
And don't blame me if you're hungry, all right? I'm hungry too, all right?
D, the wise words. Wise words.
Oh, we got a teacher.
Menudo.
Hi, Lalo. I'm Marisol Rivera, teacher here. I've seen you as self-help graphics in East LA, and you mentioned you're from San Diego, and you mentioned his work in Arizona. So what do you see as far as the Chicano art movement currently now? Like, who are you collaborating with? Who are you excited about that we should look out for?
I love looking at Instagram and seeing new artists pop up because, back in the day, we all had art portfolios. We'd walk around and show notebooks or big portfolios with our pictures. And now young artists come up to me and they're like, hey, can I show you my portfolio? They're like, yeah, they whip out their phone. Here's my gram. Blah, 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 blah. And they show me a million images. But I subscribe, I follow as many young Chicano artists as possible. And there's still a lot of political art. I mean, Chicano art is super political, I think, in my opinion. It's what it's all about. But there's also a cultural component. And I think culture is political. Drawing a pyramid is a political act, and showing a brown person is a political act. Showing a native person, that's a political act. So I think it's all political art. Even if it's, there's a young artist, her account is called Hey Ruka, right? Hey Ruka, and she draws, she's probably 25 or something, and she draws stuff from 1975. She draws all these cholas with big hair and these drawings used to be in Lowrider magazine, all these ancient magazines. And it's beautiful, and it's great to see a young person taking that art seriously and then doing something new with it. But there's also another guy I like, his name is Jesse, and I forget his last name, but his account is called Urban Aztec on Instagram. He does indigenous superhero stuff that indigenous Batman, and it's super badass stuff. I just love it. I buy his toys, he's just I have the indigenous Batman. It's super cool. It's like the stuff I do, but way better made. But so I have faith that there's a lot of stuff. Real fast, that was my first big viral piece protesting against Disney way back even before the Coco thing, back in the 90s, about Prop 187. But if you ask me what is the biggest piece you ever made, it was that. Those posters were made to boycott Disney, and they were actually printed in Tijuana and smuggled across the border. It was great. Like some of my family members.
Oh, got deep.
Another question?
Any other questions?
One more.
Guys, don't feel shy.
Don't be shy.
Hey. Oh, you had to be way
Come
up
on
there.
down. You're the next contestant. On The Price is Right.
Careful.
Hi, Lalo.
Hello.
My name is Hector Torres. I lived in Vista, and I spent 2 weeks at San Diego State in '91.
Oh, cool.
And I'm also an immigrant going across the border. I just want to know what your vision of the future is. What do you feel would be good for the Chicano movement to be like, or Hispanics in general? How do we fit in the future?
Yeah, I hope we all fit together, and we don't work against each other because there's too much of that. You see the president of the Proud Boys was a Cuban American, and that's not cool. People that we need to help each other. Whatever group we're from, we need to support ourselves, but also each other. And I just hope that, we can respect each other's culture and not try to put it down or obliterate it and not do it to each other. I mean, we have other forces that are trying to erase our culture. We have a hard time just with that. We don't need to be doing it to each other and judging each other. But, easy for me to say I'm a professional judger and put her downer. But, as a cartoonist, my job is, this will make sense, is with this question. As a cartoonist, my job is to take down the powerful people, not to stomp on people that need help. The helpless people, people that are having a hard time, that are struggling with things. That's not our job. That's abuse of our superpower as cartoonists and artists. We need to try to equalize by, taking down people that need to be taken down a notch, like Elon Musk. So let's not do it to each other. We're all in the same boat here. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Guys, don't feel shy. If you have a question, just come down.
Coming down. Oh,
extra credit.
Extra credit for my
Extra
credit. I see a lot of my students out there.
Come on up.
I'll give you the quiz.
I promise I'll answer with a short
do the quiz?
answer.
Short and sweet.
Short, yeah. All right, let's give it up.
All right.
Woo!
My name is Anthony, and I have a question. Let's see. Do you ever get a feeling that that you want to draw yourself, but like in a different version? And the second one is that how you did the characters, right, and doing your own version.
Okay, I'm sorry. What's the question?
How do you transform the original characters, like Mickey Mouse, into your version?
Oh, okay. Well, that's called that parody, and that's something you use in satire by taking an image. It's called fair use. Also, it's allowed under the First Amendment, especially when you are attacking directly the company. You can use the logo of a company to make fun of that company, to attack it in free speech. And it's totally settled Supreme Court law. It's a First Amendment. You can use that to attack that very company. And obviously the logo of Disney is not Little Yoda, but it is Mickey Mouse. And so that's what, and then you use your imagination to portray this in a bad light. Like this, I did a 1960s, I just totally ripped off a 1960s sci-fi movie poster and put my character in it as a monster, the whatever. So, and my compadre has this tattooed on his arm. And I totally was like, dude, don't do that. What are you doing, man? He's a super fan. I was shocked to see it when we were having a carne asada, like, Ernie. For real, man? He's got 3 cartoons of mine on his arm. I'm like, you're crazy, dude. That's crazy. Even I don't have tattoos on my arm. But that's how you do it. And then also, I don't know if this is part of the question, and I promise to be short, but when all the characters in my comic strip in La Cucaracha are all people in my life, because humans are funny enough. You barely have to transform them into funny creatures, because we are funny as hell. And my mom, my dad, my wife, my nephews, everybody's in the comic strip. They just, most of the time they don't know it, because sometimes I make them goofballs, so they don't, whatever. So.
All right, thank you for answering my question.
Yeah. I really hate talking and spitting out when all this light you can see every time I spit out.
One thing I want to add on to that parody, just as a learning moment for all the students. When he says to take that and make fun of that back to, doesn't mean you could actually profit off of that. So if you turn it around and you're trying to commercialize Mickey Mouse in your own, you got to watch out. That's where you step on the line of copyright versus parody. So.
Yes, I can use,
just to clarify,
I could use it for a book cover, because the title of the book is Migra Mouse. It's my cartoon that I did. Disney does not call me; their lawyers don't call me to try to scare me or whatever. Now, if I tried to open Migra Mouse Land, then I got problems. Yeah. So you can't do that.
Just a little bit of clarity. So before you guys go out and go, I'm going to start doing all these things and selling them and make posters and sell them. It's like, well, no, you can't do that. You got to be careful.
So before we end this episode of The Art of Talking, we want to thank all of you guys for being our live audience today.
Yeah.
We want to thank our news crews for being here also.
Oh, yeah. Hard. Really hard.
Our superintendents and Viking staff.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Lalo for being here and being our guest today.
I want to thank all of you and the podcast crew here, and thanks for hanging out. Thanks to the staff. What she said, everything. And thank me.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this episode of The Art of Talking. We will see you in the next episode.
Bye. Bye.